All right, fundamentals of cloud computing. We need to ask ourselves these basic questions: why cloud computing, what is cloud computing, and what is Azure? So to understand the fundamentals of cloud computing, we have to ask ourselves these three questions. Okay, let's see each of these questions, what are these questions and how can we understand the fundamentals of cloud computing by answering these questions. Okay, let's start with why cloud computing, right? A very basic question. Why do we need cloud computing in the first place, where we already have these huge data centers that is already being built and everything, right? Okay, let's proceed. This is John. Okay, now John, has this brilliant idea of creating a social media website, something like Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, or something like that. Okay, so he has this brilliant idea, and he's very excited. As you can see in the picture, he's very excited with this idea because he's guarantee that this idea is going to be a success. Okay, but the very soon he looks worried. Why? Because he's worried about the storage that is required for this social media website, the servers that are going to be required, the security, the infra team, so much stuff, and how is he going to handle all this stuff, right? So he's a little worried because he's now thinking of how to implement his idea into reality, right? So these are some challenges at a high level what John faces with his brilliant idea which he has. First challenge: high setup cost to launch. We've seen that for his idea to implement this social media website, he has to buy servers, right? High-end configuration servers. He has to buy storage services. He has to figure out the security for it. He has to build a team of sysadmin or infra team, right? Who are going to maintain all this infrastructure, all this IT infrastructure, right? So, and that involves high cost, extremely high cost, and he's worried how is he going to manage this high cost of setup. Okay, so that's first challenge. Second challenge is that let's say somehow he manages to bring all this IT infrastructure, all this infra team. He builds his infra team. He takes loans and everything, and figures out how to start off with. Okay, so let's say he starts with his idea, but then he realizes that if this becomes successful, if this social media website becomes successful, how is how is he going to manage the scalability of it, like, because then if the number of users increases, then the data increases, right? So again the servers, he'll have to buy new servers, he'll have to buy new storage devices, he'll have to figure out again the security, he'll have to increase his infra team. So even if his idea is successful, he'll need more resources, which is again a worry that how is he going to fund all this additional resources, right? So these are the two main challenges that John has. Okay, now he meets Angela. Okay, now Angela is an IT specialist with huge experience implementing new products, and she understands end-to-end product implementation life cycle. Okay, so she's basically an expert in it. So after discussing it with Angela, Angela is very quick to answer or give a solution to John for all his issues, and the solution is cloud. Angela quickly responds that cloud computing, or implementing this project or this social media website on cloud, can basically solve all the issues that John is facing. Okay, now let's see how exactly is John's issues going to be resolved by implementing a cloud-based solution. Okay, for that we have to compare on-premise data center with a cloud solution, right? That's what we have to compare, because ideally John would have gone with the on-premise data center, but then he had all these challenges of how to allocate resources and everything. So we are comparing a cloud-based solution with the on-premise data center. Okay, so first point for on-premise data center is that high upfront cost of setup. We already seen that Even to launch his website, John has to purchase high-end servers, high-end storage devices, right? So there is an upfront cost of setup involved. But in cloud, it's the exact opposite. In cloud, there is absolutely no upfront cost involved, and you only pay as you go. So the amount of resources that you use, only that amount or only that is something that you're going to be charged. So it's a pay as you go model in cloud. In on-premise data center, there are no automatic updates or there are no upgrades as well, right? Whereas in cloud, all the softwares are going to be automatically updated or upgraded in cloud by the cloud service provider. So basically, you don't need an infra team in a cloud-based solution, is what I'm trying to say in this point. In on-premise data center, lack of flexibility to upgrade. So let's say tomorrow John realizes that he needs a bigger server, a bigger storage system, right? But then again, it's difficult. It's not very flexible because he has to contact the vendor who is going to provide him these resources, and then it has to go this entire process, and then the vendor will take its own time to allocate or that resources, that new server and everything. So it's going to take some time. So basically lack of flexibility in an on-premise data center. But in cloud-based solution, extremely high flexibility to upgrade with just a few clicks. So basically with just a few clicks, John can upgrade his existing server to a extremely high-end server with just a few clicks. Okay, so that's the tremendous amount of flexibility which cloud-based solution provides. Again, in on-premise data center, you have to appoint a dedicated staff for data center maintenance, of course, because if you have to maintain your server, your storage devices, your security, you need a dedicated team to handle it, right, for your data center. In cloud, absolutely no staff required because everything is managed by the cloud service provider. All the data center, everything is going to manage by the cloud service provider. So you save a lot of cost in it. Next is that data cannot be accessed from remote, because then you have to set up your data center in a way that it can be accessed, and basically it requires a lot of setup. So basically you cannot access your data from remotely. Whereas in cloud, data can be accessed remotely using a web portal. So to access all the servers, all the websites, or all the content that you develop in cloud, all you need is a good internet connection and a web portal, basically a web browser where you can log into a web portal. That's all is required for a cloud-based solution. It's as simple as that. So no matter where you are across the world, all you need is a good internet connection and a browser where you can access your web portal. So basically that's a flexibility that cloud provides. Great. So I think there is no reason for John for not to be convinced with Angela's solution of implementing his social media website using a cloud-based solution. So of course John is now happy, as you can see, and he's definitely going with a cloud-based solution for sure. Okay. So this was a quick overview about why do you require a cloud-based solution. So we compared a cloud-based solution versus an on-premise data center, and we've seen the benefits of cloud-based solution, right? So this is why we need a cloud-based solution because it solves so many of our problems. Okay. All right. So now let's proceed with the next question. Okay. The next question is, what is cloud computing? So now that we've understood that why we need a cloud computing solution, let's now dig a little bit deeper into this topic and understand what is cloud computing. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay, so cloud computing has these different categories. Okay, these are the categories in which they are broadly classified, the cloud computing. Okay, the first one is the different types of cloud computing, and the second one are the different cloud services that are available. Okay, let's see what are the different types of cloud computing. First one is a public cloud, second one is a private cloud, and third one is a hybrid cloud. Okay, now what is public cloud? Public cloud is our Microsoft Azure is an example of public cloud, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud. These are popular examples of public cloud. But if I want to explain what is public cloud, I'll take an example of a bus, any normal public transport bus. Okay, you could compare a public transport bus to a public cloud. So in a bus, when you hop onto the bus, you only pay for your seat, right? the seat which you are occupying. You only pay for your seat. Similarly, there are other passengers who also hop onto the same bus, and they each pay only for their particular seat, right? So basically this bus, this public transport bus, is shared across all the different passengers, right? Similarly, a public cloud is shared across these different organizations who use this public cloud infrastructure. So let's say company A has their servers on a public cloud, company B also has their servers and storage systems on public cloud. Okay, it's the same public cloud, let's say Azure for example. Okay, but the security is such that company A cannot view or cannot access company B's data even if they are in the same public cloud service provider, that is Microsoft Azure or AWS. So that security is put in place that company A will only pay for the resources that it utilizes or it subscribes to. Similarly, company B also will only pay to the resources which it subscribes or which it utilizes for. So this is this distinction between company A and company B, even if they are using the same public cloud infrastructure. Okay, I hope this is clear. So this is public cloud. Private cloud. Now, as the name itself suggests, it's a private cloud, right? So all the data for a particular company, if it is loaded in a private cloud, then that data doesn't leave the company premises. Basically, private cloud is something that is private to that particular company. So only a company who is subscribed to this private cloud or who creates this private cloud, only that company has access to its data. No other company can use the private cloud resources, no other company can access it, nothing. So usually a private cloud is nothing but a data center which is set up inside the company premises. So basically the company's data never leaves the company's premises, and this is for those people who are little worried or little skeptical about putting the data on a public cloud system, even if public cloud is 100% secured and you still cannot access any other organization data, even if it's a shared infrastructure. But still some companies might have some issues like compliance issues or something like that, right? For which they set up a private cloud, and private cloud is set up inside the company's premises. Okay, I hope you understand what is a private cloud. Next is a hybrid cloud. Okay, now hybrid cloud is a combination of public cloud as well as private cloud. So basically some data or some resources you take from a public cloud, and some data or some resources is stored in a private cloud for a single company I'm talking about. Okay, so let's say company A has some data stored on a public cloud, some data stored in a private cloud, and the data flows between private cloud and public cloud seamlessly. So there is this connection between private and public cloud where the data flows seamlessly. Now you would ask, why do we require this hybrid cloud concept, right? This is because if some particular data, if a company wants to keep it in a private cloud, that is nothing but in their company premises, in their company owned data center, then the company can utilize a private cloud system. But some data which company is okay to put it on public cloud, or some server or some resources, if the company is okay to put it on public cloud, they can put it on public cloud. So basically it's like the best of both the worlds, where the company would get the benefit of public cloud system as well as the benefit and the security of the private cloud system. This is where hybrid cloud comes into picture. Okay, all right. The next category is the different cloud services. Okay, what are the different cloud services that are offered by these service providers like Azure, AWS or Google? Okay, now these are broadly classified into these three categories: the IaaS, which is nothing but infrastructure as a service; the PaaS, which is called a platform as a service; third one is a SaaS, which is software as a service. Okay, let me explain each one of it in detail. Okay, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. Basically, in simple terms, you are renting a infrastructure from a cloud service provider like Azure or AWS for example. Okay, like let's say you want a virtual machine, let's say you want a server, let's say you want some network related stuff. Okay, so all you do is that you go to this service provider, you launch a virtual machine. Let's take an example of virtual machine. You launch a virtual machine and AWS or Azure will provide you that virtual machine, and it's basically just charge you for probably a monthly basis, okay, for that virtual machine or whatever configuration, whatever hard drive you select, whatever storage you select, and whatever RAM you select and everything. So it's only going to charge you for that. What you do inside that virtual machine, Azure doesn't care about it or AWS doesn't care about it. So once you have that virtual machine, you can install anything on that virtual machine, absolutely anything, because you have full control on that virtual machine, okay. But you are renting that virtual machine from Azure, so you have to pay that charge, monthly charge, to Azure or AWS depending on the configuration that you select. This is called infrastructure as a service because you are renting a infrastructure. You are basically subscribing a physical infrastructure like a virtual machine, a server, or things like that. Okay, so that's IaaS. Next is a platform as a service. Now, in IaaS, let's say a virtual machine, you have, let's say you install SQL Server software over it, right? SQL Server database engine. But then you have to take care of the licensing of SQL Server. You have to take care of its updates or upgrades, regularly updating it as and when Microsoft releases new patches or new updates. So that's something completely up to you. Azure or AWS is not going to do it for you because they are only going to care or they are only going to maintain the virtual machine which they have provided to you, right? But there is something called as platform as a service. In this case, what happens is that you get a complete platform which is completely 100% managed by the service provider like Azure or AWS, right? For example, continuing with our SQL Server example, a similar service in Azure is called Azure SQL Database. Okay, now Azure SQL Database has the same underlying engine as a SQL Server, but in Azure SQL Database you do not have to procure any licenses. You do not have to update or upgrade this SQL database because whenever any new feature is launched, Microsoft is going to automatically update it for you. So no updates and everything. So it's a ready to use with no maintenance at all service provided by Azure. And the underlying engine is again the SQL Server engine. This is called a platform as a service because Azure is providing you a platform like Azure SQL Database to develop your database applications, to develop your database objects, without worrying about the maintenance part of it, without worrying about the software upgrades, the licensing part and everything. That's something completely Azure is going to take care of it. Okay, I hope that is clear. Platform as a service. Third one and the last one is software as a service. An example of software as a service is Office 365 or softwares like Salesforce. These are a software which is built using a combination of IaaS, infrastructure as a service, and a combination of platform as a service, PaaS. So it's basically a end product, a final fully finished software which is developed using this underlying IaaS services and PaaS services. Okay, that's called as a software as a service. Okay, so now let's proceed. Now this chart will probably make things more clear about the IaaS, PaaS and SaaS thing. Okay, so over here if you see as part of IaaS, you get to see the servers and storage, the networking, firewall security, the data center, physical plant and everything comes under IaaS. Okay, because this is the physical infrastructure, right? So this is something that you can launch or you can create in Azure. Azure will provide you servers, it will provide you storage, it will provide you the networking, firewall, security, the data center, everything. Everything Azure is going to provide you as an infrastructure, and of course it is going to charge you mostly on a monthly basis. And then you can do whatever you want. If you take a server from Azure, you can install whatever you want on that server. If you take storage from Azure, you can load whatever you want in that storage. Okay, Azure is just going to charge you a small amount on a monthly basis for using their hardware, right? And of course Azure is going to maintain all the servers, all the storage which they are renting out. Okay, next is platform as a service. Now platform as a service is nothing but operating systems, right? Development tools, database management tools like Azure SQL Database, Azure Data Factory is a platform as a service product where you don't have to worry about any licensing part, you don't have to worry about any upgradation part, anything. Everything is going to be taken care by Azure, okay? That's called a platform as a service. And using that platform, using the Azure SQL Database, you build your application. It provides you this platform for you to build your application, to build your database objects, okay? But a platform as a service, if you see it, underneath it, like the underlying layer, it uses some of the IaaS components, right? It uses servers like Azure SQL Database. Internally, it will use some server, some database engine is running on some powerful server, right? Some storage device probably where you're storing your data. So PaaS internally uses IaaS, okay? Last thing is SaaS, software as a service. As I mentioned, software as a service is a finished software, is a finished product which can be used by end user, okay? And again, software as a service is a combination of a platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. Because using this platform as a service and infrastructure as a service, using all the products, all the services, you build a software, you build a end product for the end consumer or end customer, okay? All right, so these are a few examples of the different cloud service providers like AWS, Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, Google Cloud. These are the popular cloud service providers. Of course, there are a lot of other players in the market as well, but these are the most popular ones, okay? All right, so I hope this was clear. I hope you understood what is cloud computing. We saw just a few minutes back why we need cloud computing, and now we've seen what is cloud computing, okay? All right, on that note, let's proceed with the last topic of our fundamentals of cloud computing, as in what is Azure, okay? Now, so far we've seen in general what is cloud computing and everything, but now this is specific that we are going to see what is Azure, okay? Azure by definition is like a cloud computing service created by Microsoft where users can create servers, storage systems, database, etc. using an online portal, and Microsoft will maintain the data centers or physical infrastructure, right? So it is a public cloud service provider, and you can create your servers, your storage, database using an online portal. Very simple to understand, right? So now for John to create all the resources for his social media website, all he needs is a Azure account. He has to create an account on the Azure portal, and he needs an Azure web portal, okay? And that web portal is of course going to be accessed by the web browser. Using that web portal, he can create everything in Azure cloud, absolutely everything. Right from a server, imagine a high-end, extremely high-end, high-config server to a operating system to, sorry, not operating system, to a virtual machine, to a database, to a ETL service like Data Factory, to everything, literally anything that is available in Azure, everything he can create and access using that single web portal. That is how much powerful this web portal is, and that also provides some sort of flexibility, okay, some sort of flexibility for John, okay. So some benefits of Azure: 95% Fortune 500 companies use Azure. $1 billion investment per year to protect from cyber threats. Fastest growing cloud service provider, second largest market share in the cloud market. You can start with a free account and later use a pay-as-you-go model, and as a pay-as-you-go model. So free account will you'll get some free credits, about I think 10,000 or 13,000 credits is something you'll get. Once you get it, once that is consumed, then you'll be switched to a pay-as-you-go model where you will be charged only for the resources that you are going to be built for, okay. All right, so this was a quick overview about the fundamentals of cloud computing and what is Azure. I hope this was clear. Let me show you how can you create Azure account, okay, because that's the starting point, right? So let me show you how can you create an Azure account. It's quite straightforward, very straightforward. Okay, so now I've opened this Chrome browser, and all you have to search, all you have to Google is that Azure free account, okay. Once you search Azure free account, you see this first link, create your Azure free account today. Just click on this link. and click on start free. Okay, now if you have a Microsoft account, you could enter or log in using that account. If not, just click on create one. It's extremely simple to use, very easy interface, and just follow the instructions till the end. You will be able to create a Azure account with the Azure subscription if you just follow the wizard. Now I already have an Azure account created, so I cannot create this Azure account again. But you just follow the instruction. It's very straightforward, very simple to use. Just follow the instructions and you should be good to go, I think. Okay, so this is very easy to create a free account, and as I said, you'll get some free credits. Now this free account is limited to some free credits. Okay, when I say free credits, is that whenever you create a new resource, some of your credits will be utilized in creating that new resource. Okay, I think you get 10,000 or 13,000 free credits is what my understanding is. And then you can use that to explore, explore the Azure data services. And once that is over, then you will have to switch to your paid model, where you have to provide your credit card details, and then you will be charged with whatever you use. Okay, but it's not very expensive. Even if you switch to a paid account, it's hardly anything, because you can easily create a new resource, and when it's not in use, you can easily delete that resource as well. So it's very flexible in that way. So that way you won't get charged a lot. Okay. All right. Thank you for watching this topic, and let's proceed with the other topics that we have.